Wolfpack, what's going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Roto Street, rotostreetjournal.com. We breed and feed fantasy wolves here with your week 7 rankings update. We have almost hit that halfway point. Mind blowing how fast this season is going. Hopefully, it's going well for you. I've been doing okay in leagues, lost McCaffrey in 2 of my 3 biggest ones, which I've been trying to weather. One of them doing better than others, Saquon and the other. So injuries have not been my friend, but we have been accurate at least so far in the site. I am up into the top 30 of fantasy pros right now. In fact, I was number 6 in week 6. Really pumped to see that. Number 2 in running backs as well. That was my strength of the week. So we're going well for you guys, whether our leagues or not. So I'm just thrilled for that. Let me know what week 7 questions you have. If you have any waiver wire rankings, any of that good stuff. But I always like to just set my rankings. These will change, and you can find all the updated ones at rotostreetjournal.com or on our app, our iOS app, the cleanest form to consume it all. You can find all those throughout the week. I will update them daily, as well as that rest of season big board, trying to get better about hitting that every single day. So check out the site, check out all our good stuff, and let us know what you need. Like I like to do with all of these, I always whip in the points against. It just gives us some good research, some good strength of schedule analysis as we set our rankings. And as is no surprise, the Falcons at the top in points allowed per game. Seahawks not far behind. These are to quarterbacks. We always are going to start ranking our quarterbacks. Chargers, especially after getting decimated with injury each and every week, have now risen to 3rd most points allowed. 2 quarterbacks. Saints not far behind. And then the Bills wrap out the top 5 here. Now, the worst, the fewest points allowed, it's pretty striking how, the Chicago Bears, 11 points. Colts, 11 points. Bucks, 12.7. Panthers are only allowing 13.9 per QB. Insane. I would never guess that. They've somehow really stepped it up on defense this year. And the Steelers, not a surprise there. Patriots, 15 as well. But you get 11 points a game. Definitely a tough matchup whenever you're facing the Bears or the Colts. Now let's get into these rankings. Now, number 1 here, Patmo Homes, and we can kind of bounce back and forth between these just to show you where they rank. We won't do it for every single player. That would get annoying. But you can see the Broncos top 10, in points allowed. So generous matchup. Nothing to avoid there for Patty Mahomes. But I got to have Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. That game's going to be a shootout. Those guys have to be your top options. I personally like Kyler just a little bit more Konami code upside. I think those two are in a tier of their own, and they have to be where you start your DraftKings if you play in week 7. I mean, I guess we can keep Mahomes up there because he is ridiculous, but they found that running game pulse. They're going to want to get Le'Veon Bell involved. So I'm going to be just a little bit lower. In fact, I'm going to even have Aaron Rodgers, despite that dud last week. I think that game alongside Deshaun Watson, I could see really lighting it up this week. 2 just ripe shootout games right there. Seattle, Arizona, Houston, Green Bay, giving us tons of week 7 DraftKings and just overall fantasy juice. Cannot wait for that. Josh Allen against the Jets too is like clockwork. What do you put up week 1? Like 35 against them? And he does this anyways, never mind in this career season he's having. So yeah, a little bit lower on Mahomes this week, even though Denver, not a scary matchup, more so just how this offense is going. Matt Stafford against Atlanta seems real tough to ignore, but I love Justin Herbert and what he's been doing. And I like Matty Ice when he's got Julio just a little bit more than Stafford. This is about as low as you can go with Stafford going against that defense, but he's had some cake matchups and just has not been really getting it done. So I'm not like, diehard Stafford as much as the expert consensus seems to be this week. Then you got Jacksonville, so Minshew in a good spot against the Chargers, giving up the 3rd most points there, 2 QBs. And those of you tuned in, any likes, comments, shares, just so greatly appreciated. If you have a group, you can drop it in on Facebook. People you're not competing against, but that could help us get exposure. It means the world. Just the thumbs up button, regardless of where you're at on YouTube, on Facebook. It just helps us reach more people. So please consider giving us that thumbs up if we've been helpful at all for you guys. And keep your questions coming in. I will get to them all as we go. I do like Big Ben against Tennessee. We just saw what Deshaun Watson did to them. They can put up their points, and that ultimately it's a back and forth shootout style game. And I think that's why Tannehill has to be up here in your top 12 guys. I don't get it. It's ultimately The Pittsburgh matchup, I get tough, but this Titans team just posts points week in and week out. They have not been under 32 points in 4 straight weeks since week 1. So I'm all about this Titans team. That's a big battle of the unbeaten teams. Like just the game flow around that should be exciting. All righty, let's keep going here. Like I said, I like Minshew, the 3rd most points there. I don't like Breeze. I mean, you get these obnoxious Taysom Hill snaps, and then the matchup against Carolina, just not what we all expected it could be. I do love Burrow this week. I think I'm going to rank him a little bit above Newton. The Pats team is so tough to project week in and week out. Brady, not a tough spot at all against Las Vegas. How do they rank against QBs? Vegas Raiders, yeah, top 10 right there, 11, 12. So certainly one of the top matchups you can have as a quarterback. So have them up decently high. You got Dalton against Washington. Ugh. I'm going to cut this tier off here of like the last remaining. I mean, what's different between I got to get Burrow in here. That's a tier, not Burrow. So let's get Burrow, not above Tannehill, but I'll get him in there. Get Brady on in there. I'd say that's a good quality, like upside QB1 tier with Herbert, Ryan, Stafford, Big Ben, Tanny, Brady, Burrow. And now you're in like the upside QB2 range. Do like me some Bridge against New Orleans. Dare I say above Cam? I know I was higher on Cam last week, but man, it's concerning. I'm concerned with how Edelman looks, just disinterested, not running all over the field. I don't know. That offense is ugly right now. I got to give Wentz a little bit of love. I mean, what has his points been? Let me pull it up on the phone real quick. I know it's been like 20-something. I feel like every week with no weapons in bad matchups, Wentz just keeps getting it done, even if it's hideous. Sometimes it's as a rusher. Sometimes it's as a just late round bombs. Let's see here. Wentz, what's he been putting up these last few weeks? Maybe I'm dead off. 21, 21, 17, and 29. I mean, it's unsexy. Yeah, it's unsexy. But now he also gets the Giants. So, maybe even above Burrow here. And he's out on a lot of waivers I've seen, Wentz, too. So check that. Definitely. And then after that, I don't like Goff. Again, Chicago, 11 points to QBs right now. These are like your last flyers here. I'm going to leave Dalton with them. Mayfield, if you're ever going to be able to use him, it'd be against the fucking Bengals. But even then, Carr, not a good spot. Like none of these guys are great talents and none of them are in good spots. I don't want Daniel Jones at all though. So I guess I get Goff a little higher. I don't know though. I really don't like any of these guys. Then you look here. I mean, Alex Smith not playing, Mullins. We can get rid of a couple names here. There's your last ditch starters. I'll give Drew Lock a little Hail Mary against Kansas City. One of the better pasties, but he's going to have to chuck. What are they? What is Kansas City? Let's go back to points allowed. Kansas City. Sorry, folks. Yeah, so I mean, one of the better teams, sure. But I still think that game's ripe for a shootout. Let's now turn our attention to running backs, and I'll pick up a few of your questions as we go here while that's loading. And we'll load, bam, running backs, and let's hit this. Rodney Davis, an interesting question because tight end is probably the position to focus on here for waiver wire. Should I drop or hold on to Gesicki? Drop for someone like Burton. Oh, man, it's tricky, right? You got Burton. I would say if like Goddard's out there, of course. Ertz on the IR, and Goddard should be back this week, if not next. Would love me Goddard. Top option at tight end, in my opinion. I do like Burton, but when Allie Cox comes back, what are those snap totals going to look like? What are we going to have? Is it going to get just a 3-headed nightmare all week? We even saw Doyle score a touchdown. So as much as they like to use tight ends, Burton has that history under Reich. I don't know if it's enough for me to drop Gesicki, but I understand the frustration. 2 real stud games and then pure duds. You could, but it depends who's out there. Was offered Gibson for Waller in a league. Thoughts? Who are some players you'd buy for Waller? I think Waller's value is definitely higher than Gibson right now. And every week tight end's tough to find, and now he's off his bye. Like, that becomes a set and forget K Cool Whip 27 if you have a guy like Waller in there. So Gibson, man, if I could trade him for Waller, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I have Gibson. I still think his best is yet to come. We could get a late season explosion. It looks like Swift ready to be that guy too. But for Waller, a proven commodity at the toughest position to find it, yeah, I would absolutely give up Gibson to get Waller. I want Waller in that trade. And if I was trading Waller, I'd want like a really locked in high end RB2. Same with wide receiver too. That's too good of too tough of a position to knock down to give him up for anything less. Mitchell Chavez, new picture this week. Good to see you. Was a rough loss this week by less than 3 points. Other guy had Murray, got to bounce back. Ooh, that is a tough one. Murray just will always, you'll never safe when you're facing Kyler. Traded CMC, Godwin, Lindsey, Damian Harris, and TY for Devonte and Kamara. So a lot of stuff, but you gave up a lot of trash here. So Seb, I think you housed him. Like CMC, yes, stud. Godwin, good. So to me, this comes down to like Adams and Kamara versus CMC, Godwin. We, at best, CMC hope he becomes Kamara when he comes back. So Kamara, the number one player on my rest of season big board. Anytime you secure him and you only give up one locked-in stud, because I'm not calling Godwin a locked-in stud right now. I think he should get it together. But in terms of Adams and Kamara, probably the number one at each of their respective positions, Seb. And really beyond CMC, Godwin, none of those players. T.Y. Hilton can get tossed to the waivers. Damian Harris probably could join him. Lindsey looks okay, but when you gave up CMC and Godwin for the top two at each position. Well done. Great trade. 4 and 2 as well. Perfect trade. Thoughts on Drake selling high or holding? Mike, the question of the week, right? Looked much better than we've seen him. I think he's got the message. He ran hard, but he's also facing a Cowboys team that gets routinely steamrolled. So if I can sell him, I'm trying to, as happy as he made me last night, try to remember just how fucking angry every single week I was with Kenyon Drake. And as good as he played last night, the usage wasn't like exceptionally better. He just was getting bigger holes because the Cowboys suck. He was still getting rammed right up the middle, running harder. But it depends on how high you can sell him. If you're going to get high-end RB2, low-end 1 value like we came into the season with, maybe a little bit of shine off that, okay, sell him. But otherwise, if your owner's like, yeah, he sucked, you were just crying about him for weeks, now you want to trade him to me, then why sell? I was pleased, very pleased, of course. Overjoyed would be the best word for have him show up and actually use him. But yes, I'd be selling in most cases. Edge, SKL, and then we'll get to our running backs, and let's see where Drake and some of these guys end up ranking. I was offered Juju for DeAndre Swift. I'm 6-0, and RBs are CEH, Drake, Mont, Gibson. Have Thielen, Ridley. So you're giving up Juju or you're giving up Swift? I'd rather have Edge, Swift. Your running backs are pretty stacked. 6-0, very nice, but I don't like Ridley that much. I mean, give me Claypool all day over Juju the rest of the season. Deontay Johnson could come in, and he was the number one target before getting hurt. And the fact that somebody else just comes in and takes the number one target role away from Juju instead of him leaping into it tells me all I need to know. So if you can trade Juju for something like Swift that could blow up, yeah, absolutely. If you're the one getting Juju, then peace. See you later. Despite the stacked running backs, you can do better. That just doesn't do much for me. All right, let's dive in now to our running back rankings for week 7. And as I just said, let's keep the good times, fingers crossed, rolling. In that, I ranked number 2 in all of the experts' grades for Fantasy Pros in week 6. Let's keep it going, folks. Texans, not surprisingly, we just saw what Derrick Henry did to them. Good freaking Lord. That was a sight to behold. Number 2 in fantasy points per game. Packers number 1 though. In running back points per game. Wow, that they jumped up quite a bit on this list. So good to note. Carolina should be right up there, 24.5. So not far away. They've been just steamrolled pretty much every single week. Montgomery, of course, did nothing against them. And what should you expect? Las Vegas Raiders, we knew they get demolished despite Hilaire's bust. Lions, pretty weakly bludgeoning for them. Jags, not a surprise there. So, yeah, your top 7 makes sense, top 8. Let's look over here. The worst matchup, San Fran, Denver. Clearly Denver, very limiting against running backs. Ravens, Steelers, no surprises here. We'll bounce back and forth as we get there. I'm trying to think of the Lions. Like, have they given up that? Who did they face? Robinson, I guess he pounded in a late one, but I feel like the Lions is skewed because Kamara is put up like 70 against them. They haven't been that bad. But Kamara should also put up 60 against Carolina this coming week. Maybe it's the Latavius Murray show because they just pounded out with a more pure running back. Kamara, did he face? Let me look at this real quick. Has he already faced Carolina? I think this is their first time meeting, if I'm not mistaken. Green Bay 38. Las Vegas 33, 19-15. So a little bit underwhelming. Detroit was the smash spot. They just didn't crush. A little underwhelming these last couple weeks. Now Mike Thomas coming back too. I really think Aaron Jones, I mean, you couldn't ask for a bigger smash spot than what we just saw Henry do. You know you're getting like a 40-point day. I'm going to bump Hunt as well up to running back 3 facing Cincy. Cincy's got to be at the top of this. Yeah, top 10. In terms of rushing yards, I feel like you're one of the higher ones. I think Hunt, we saw Chubb and Hunt combine for like 404 against those guys. Now he gets the backfield to himself. I'm going to bump him up. I think Davis is just a weekly smash spot. Zeke against Washington has to be one of the better matchups. Washington, though, better in the front than they are in the back. Yeah, middle of the pack there for them. New Orleans is one of the better run Ds, but has been pretty susceptible through the air, which is where we'll see Mike Davis do the majority of his work anyways. That's why they're much higher in DraftKings fantasy points per game because of that. Let's keep going here. Connor, Tennessee, nothing special on the ground. Yeah, we see them over 20 points a game. Connor, as long as he's out there, I still think he's just always a sell high, but dare I say he outscores Henry in the same game this week. I think Mixon needs to be a significantly higher. Cleveland, we just saw them get bulldozed. Pathetic, just a pathetic, pulseless defense last week. The middle of the pack in points allowed, but Mixon, the real deal. I would say this kind of like cuts off my like lock them on in true RB1s. Henry clearly a little lower this week facing that Pittsburgh team. Game flow could become an issue for him. I think Carson has to be top 10 pretty much any week given that offense. Hilaire, that's the question, right? And now he gets Le'Veon Bell here. Tough matchup against Denver's D. I mean, Jones getting that matchup against the Raiders. We're seeing him dominate in these good matchups. I fucking want him in my top 8. Like, above a Henry, call me sick, but like, obviously Henry's in your lineup no matter what, but this is about who's going to score more points. I really think Jones is in a great position. It's too bad he's not in the main slate for DraftKings at 8. Good showdown candidate, though, for you guys. Jacobs, Tampa Bay is decent. I think they've been, one of the better teams against the run. So, I mean, he's still always a solid bet for the end zone. Let's bump him up. Gurley's coming off a dud, but definitely in a smash spot here against Detroit. 4th most points to running backs. What do we make of Drake? What do we have the Seahawks here? One of the better teams against running backs. Have they faced much either? Like that's always a good follow-up. The Jets will get slapped around. Who are they facing? So we got Packers against Houston. Smash spot. Houston, I mean, that's got to be David Johnson getting a little bit of a a bump up here because that Packers team is just pulverized on the ground. Ronald Jones just did them dirty last weekend. Yeah, Raiders, as we mentioned, Ronald Jones, another great spot. Lions facing Detroit. Where the hell are they? Todd Gurley. So good touchdown bet. Panthers against Kamara, just a smash spot. Titans, Connor. Dolphins on bye. So the Jets are the last of like the juicy, and the Cowboys, as you see up here as well. So Gibson in a good spot against the Cowboys. The Jets get Singletary. Moss was annoyingly in there in goal line stuff, but I like Singletary this week. Okay, let's cut off this. See you later, fucking David Montgomery. So I'd bump him down there. I'm gonna bump Swift up fairly significantly though. I think he belongs in this like elite RB2, low end one. I mean, Atlanta, great matchup, specifically susceptible through the air. You know what? Call me fucking nuts, but I'm all in this week. A little bit lower on James Robinson. Now, should I be? Let's see what the Chargers do against the run. Los Angeles. Yeah, see, one of the better teams against the run here. And James Robinson just like, I think he might have ended up being a sell high, like underwhelming for 3-4 straight weeks, like over Josh Jacobs. Come on now. All righty, let's see here. If there's one way to beat Chicago, it's on the ground, and Henderson's the guy. He's always a risk to just disappear. Hilaire getting this is more about the matchup than it is me being totally concerned with Hilaire, by the way. It's looking like Boston Scott will have that backfield all to himself, so we'll bump him up. The Giants, not a scary matchup, but he also had that backfield all to himself and sucked a real fat one earlier. And week 1, how's the Eagles against the run? Because Freeman is the clear cut back here. Middle of the pack, yeah. Okay. So he's nothing worth chasing too crazy. I do think Melvin Gordon will come right back in and get you some solid stats here. We'll see where he's ranked and if he's playing. That'd be kind of important. Give me Justin Jackson, though. Really big fan of Jackson. Big game. Jaguars giving up a ton of points to running backs. He became that de facto, I think about 67% of the snaps, was it? Josh Kelly could find his ass into the end zone, so we'll bump him up a little bit. But we're starting to hit that, ooh boy, territory. Edmonds, not a diehard of Edmonds right now. Say, LaMichael Pirine didn't do a ton, but saw some decent work. And then you got Gore, revenge game. We'll start off this kind of gross, like last desperation options here. I do think Jamal needs a little more love facing that bad Houston team, seeing a lot of action. But again, I really could see that being just a force feeding of Aaron Jones. So Burkhead's not going to be my usable guys. So let's kind of keep going down here. Where's McKinnon? Why is he? Yeah, let's talk about McKinnon. I mean, 92% of the snaps last time. Yeah, he saw less carries than Jermichael Hasty, but I think when you have the week to game plan, like I am a little nervous of the shenanigans, but Jeff Wilson and Jermichael, again, 9 carries, led the team. I'd have him in over like Duke Johnson. Like he can go into this Desperation tier for sure. McKissick as well, underowned streamer guy. So these are a couple Hail Marys for you. Anybody else in this category? Latavius Murray has to be higher. That is way too low for a guy that should probably find the end zone at least once, if not twice. So significantly higher on him, Latavius Murray. I could see DeErnest getting a little more work than usual if he kind of slipped his way out into the waiver wire. Take a little peek. Jeff Wilson deserves a bump above these names. Any other last guys here worth considering? Mostert's not playing. Get rid of him. Yeah, this is where it gets pretty hideous. So I'll look through and see if there's anybody, but you're not playing Kerryon Johnson, Brex Burkhead. This is where it's kind of like you got to find something by here. Maybe Jeff Wilson. I'll bump into here too. But that's the last usable guys. All righty. Let us pull up the wide receivers. Let's get back to your guys' questions and keep this rolling. We are left off with Seb, that monster trade that you explained. I don't think you gave up too much at all. Thoughts on Drake selling higher hold? Oh, yeah. So I must have lost my place here. Back at the top. Seb, well, where did it go? Here he is. Will DeAndre Swift continue to put up big numbers? I mean, he just came out and dominated this last week. And I don't see why they would suddenly revert back to AP 2.6 yards per carry, whereas Swift had 8. Gets Atlanta, who's mostly susceptible to receiving backs. I think Swift will absolutely keep doing it. They clearly had him as a focal point of the game plan, and all he did was respond and reward them for their efforts. So yes, I absolutely think so. Matthew Son. Should I trade Keenan Allen, Josh Allen for Michael Thomas and trash, half PPR? Ridley and Kenny G. So it's more important, who's your backup QB after Allen? I can see that move if you have a good number 2, Matthew. But otherwise, Keenan Allen, 40% target share. Allen, obviously, top 7 weekly quarterback. I think you're giving up a lot for Michael Thomas that has had discipline issues, has been hurt. It just doesn't seem like his year. If you're getting, I'd say, better than trash, and if you have a good number 2, yes, I'd rather have Thomas than Keenan. And if you have a fair enough quarterback, but that's a hefty haul. I don't think I'd do that one, Matthew. Would you rather pick up Coleman or Hasty on waivers? Good question, K. Cool. If it's not going to be Coleman this week, so I guess it's a matter of how patient can you be? Are you just looking to maybe find the guy in a few weeks? Well, Coleman certainly, we've seen him be the guy. And it's looking like he could be back for week 8. So I like him as a savvy pickup right now, for sure. Especially if you got IR spots, even better. But if you need that 1 week injection, then you need Hasty. You need to go for the stab. But yeah, I like Coleman more long-term. I got Cooper for Mitchell Chavez. Lockett, Claypool, Higgins, and Jackson have to start 3. Lockett's locked in. Cooper's locked in. Claypool, well, Higgins. So Jay Jackson's not the play, as good as he is, and as much as I like him. Let's look at these matchups here. Because to me, it was the first 3, and then Higgins. I mean, second in this week in receiving yardage. Love what I saw. Then we got just traded Gibson for Crowder. What do you think? My other running backs were Zeke, Aaron Jones, and JT for Cody. I think it's a great play. You got good enough running backs that Gibson's never touching your lineup. And Crowder, even in his worst week last week, saw 14 targets, and that's Flacco. And the dude entered the week first in receiving yards per game, had not been less than 7 catches in 100 yards, double-digit targets every week. The guy's a magnet. So, Cody, I'm a big Crowder fan. I think he's significantly undervalued everywhere just because he's Crowder on the Jets. And last week's dud wouldn't scare me off. I think you fleeced him. I'd love if I could trade Gibson for Crowder right now. How much did you win in the DFS GPP? Decent. I had a good week. I had the Tannehill Henry, AJ Brown went all in on the Titans. So if you tuned in, hopefully you did the same. Then I had Calvin Ridley instead of Julio, unfortunately, and Thielen instead of Jefferson. I had one league with Julio, which got to 210 in points. Ended up taking down $850. Not bad. Got the bankroll back over a K. Solid, but not like, damn, I just won $10,000. So good day though. Good to have the good, they're flowing. Good vibes. Robert, we'll do you last. And then, of course, again, we're going to get to all questions, but you got to keep getting through these rankings. Drop Cam and try to get Tannehill. Kyler on bye. So I'm sure Tanny won't beat. Yeah, I think you gotta go get him. I would drop Cam for Tannehill rest of season. Yeah, it's close, but I would. And I do need to readjust those because Tua is now starting as well. So I'll come back with you, Cobra Kai, on the after the receivers here. But let us quickly look at wide receivers against the points against for wide receivers and get these set up. I mean, Seattle's one of the most generous. Got to be Hopkins number one. Dud week, sure, but he's got to be number one. Adams, Houston, not far off. I love Tyreek against Denver. I think Denver's like sixth in points allowed. Maybe the game against the Patriots helped boost them, but let's look real quick. Denver. Oh, that can't be right. Fantasy points per game. Oh, that's running backs. Why is this not loading? Come on. I'll get your questions while this loads. That's taking way too long. In a 10-team league, I just traded C-Mac, Mike Davis, Duke Johnson, Pollard for Fuller, Rojo, D. Henderson, Waller. Did I get enough? It's close. If you were in win now mode, then Fuller and Rojo are just crushing it. But to me, Henderson too. They're all killing it. And Waller's a great play. So it's essentially, C-Mac, number one player. You got yourself a good haul. You got yourself useful options across the board. The one thing with this one is Fuller guaranteed? No, because the injuries. It seems like he's a guarantee at this point, at least. When he's on the field, he's going to get you 100 yards in a TD. Great bet every single week. But of course, the injury could just bite at any point. Rojo seems like an awesome bet, but Fournette's been hurt. Vaughn's had his nice little moments. And it seems like Arians loves to bench this guy like right away if he makes a mistake. So I love Rojo, love what he's doing. Henderson, same idea. Like, is Akers going to ever take over? There's a lot of question marks to as good as those guys have been playing. If they do what they've been doing, then you're in great shape. And Waller just a lock, especially if you were needy at tight end. But it's just still like anytime you give up the best player in the league and then his handcuff, like who's been the number 2 running back, your roster had to have hopefully had some holes that you needed to plug. Because especially in 10-team, I never want to be on the wrong side of the best player. But you got a fair amount for sure, Cobra Kai. I'm not sitting here saying you definitely crushed the trade. You got a fair amount. All right, in terms of points allowed to wide receivers, I want to see where Denver ranked for Tyreek. I know they've given up some big plays, and clearly that's Tyreek's MO. Yeah, they're right here, Denver, 10th or so, right about there. Vikings, Seahawks, no surprise. The weekly bashing those guys take. Cleveland, somebody was asking T. Higgins. Cleveland's very generous. That makes things a little trickier. You got Terry McLaurin facing those Cowboys. That is a pretty juicy matchup. Who does Atlanta? They get not Carolina this week. Off the top of my head. Detroit. So obviously a good spot for Golladay, for Marvin Jones. Surprising to see the Steelers in the top 7. Titans. So, Claypool right back up there. And you can run that back with A.J. Brown, definitely. Lions rounding out the top 10 with the Texans, who are about to get smashed by Devonte Adams. So a lot of good receivers in good spots for this week. Let's dig in specifically to these guys. So Vikings are on bye, so that takes away one of our favorite matchups. The Jets not like top 10 allowed. They've been horrible. There's no way the Jets. Yeah, I guess. I mean, maybe teams just have to stop throwing because they're up so big. Yeah, but they don't have a good defense. So let's go here. Kind of cut this tier off. I'd say I don't love Robinson facing Jalen Ramsey. I mean, that's been the real deal as advertised. I would bump Tyreek below our Falcons here in that projected shootout. And I would bump Diggs above Golladay. I'd cut A.J. Brown just out of this tier. Atlanta, Golladay should just absolutely smash them, no doubt. I'm going to bump McLaurin up for the week. A.J. Brown just below him. How is the Seahawks guys not higher in here? Arizona's decent, but come on. I think it's after buys, I feel like Fantasy Pros guys are ranked a little low. It will probably be fixed. So where's Arizona on this list? One of the better teams, but that game's just going to shoot out. I'm not too worried about that. Decent ranking right there. We need Lockett. Yeah, let's get Lockett up here. I would bump him out of this like locked in wide receiver ones, though. Lockett has been just a little frustrating these last few weeks. Green Bay, Jair Alexander, Jalen Ramsey, and then Jair have been like among those top 2 or 3 shutdown corners, no doubt. So I'm gonna have my Bucks guys above Allen Robinson. I think Robbie needs a little more respect. I'd have him versus Evans. I'm gonna have to decide on that in a league. That's gonna be tricky, no doubt. I think Claypool needs more love. I mean, he's going nowhere, folks. And that matchup is a beaut. So I'd cut this off right about there. I think Fuller has to, like, out of respect for his game this year, has to get jumped in these like last our wide receiver ones, really, really good wide receiver twos. I don't think Cooper deserves to be out this far either. Where's my man Higgins? Let's get him up. Above Robert Woods, no doubt. I mean, above Tyler Boyd, honestly, at this point, who I also like this week. Don't like my Rams guys. Down on last week. That was right. I think I'm at the point, though, obviously Michael Thomas, if he plays, he's in there as your top 10 receivers. For me with Cooks, it's like who gets Jair? Is it going to be Fuller? Because if not, Fuller's going to have a day. If it is, then Cooks will have a day. That'll be interesting to monitor throughout the week for sure. Debo, a lot of designed running. Keenan Allen against Jacksonville. That's a smash if I've ever seen one. I mean, he belongs with these guys. Where's Jacksonville in this list? They got to be. A little bit, thought they were going to be more generous, to be honest. We see the Browns, though. That's going to be a smash spot for Higgins. What's Higgins and Boyd looking like on DraftKings this week? That game is going to be one I like a lot for my stacks. The weekly disrespect for Crowder. Let's get him into the top 20 where he absolutely belongs. Buffalo, certainly one of the more generous teams. I guess not, but I thought for sure they were. I mean, they get destroyed by slots at least. CD, I mean, did okay, but I am not very encouraged by that. I like DJ Moore where he's trending. So yeah, down on my Rams, higher on, he's been seeing some solid looks. I would say I'll bump him. Nah, that's about right. That's about right. I think Slayton should be above him though. Nope. I do think Debo's back, which is very, very encouraging as someone who owns him in every single league. And then we keep going down here. I think Kirk in that shootout game has to be high on your priorities. Fulgham will depend on who's back, who's in and who's out. Deshaun Jackson rumored to be back. Maybe even Riger gets activated soon. So he's kind of wait and see for me. The Chargers have to be among the third most points to quarterbacks. How much are they giving up to wide receivers? You'd think those two things would go hand in hand unless they just get pulverized by tight ends. I guess not that much. Less than I expected there. Giants, Eagles, potential Thursday night football fun, huh? I don't love Chark right now, the way he's trending. But Visca doesn't do anything if Chark doesn't play well, so it's tough. I feel like this one kind of cuts off at CD. I hope he's good enough to just keep getting it done, but I don't know how I buy it. Love me some Mike Williams. I'm going to bump him up quite a bit. Yeah, I get that Keenan was out when he just dominated, but the rope from Herbert, the willingness to let his guy go up and climb and go get it, all stuff I really enjoyed seeing. I'd say I'm going to cut this tier off at Fulgham of last wide receiver threes I'm good with. Seems about right. Don't love me Edelman at all right now. I mean, Patrick is getting it done. Same with Keelan Cole, second in receiving yards last week. Give me that over Landry, Judy. I can't. I'll bump Patrick down just a little bit. That was kind of aggressive here. I think Marvin Jones. I know we've been sitting and waiting for this for a while, but Atlanta's the classic pinnacle. Marvin Jones puts up 40 fucking matchup. AJ Green, I hate to admit it, but had a pulse this week. And it gets an easy matchup against Cleveland. So I like all those receivers in that matchup. Ayuk keeps scoring. McCole Hardman can just go suck a fat one. Awful stuff. I'm not going to put him in my startable flexes here. This is a John Brown spot too. Let's get him a little more respect this week. Other guys that may have fallen through the cracks. I think Humphreys. Intriguing the way that offense is just pounding right now. Beasley just a steady 12 points, safe to just kind of have in your lineups for sure. Not seeing anyone down here that screams to me, bump this person up. Let's rank Deontay as if he's playing. In which case he'd be right around here and probably above Juju. I don't know. I can't keep going to the Juju train. I haven't been going to the Juju train, and I've been right for it. I'm not going to start right now. I think Deshaun Jackson plays, so we'll get him up here quite a bit more. Of course, we'll X him out should he not play. And anybody else down here? Any sleepers you guys love this week? We'll come back to this lower side of the totem pole here. Rashad Powerman did have a nice outing first game back, 60 yards. Could be a chuck on the waiver wire. All righty. Let's go on to tight ends and get back to some of your comments while these load. Some of your questions. Tight end. I know Atlanta, the Saints, very generous to tight ends. I was number 7 in the rankings in tight ends coming into the week and then had a tough one, unfortunately. So this is as obvious as it comes. Is Swift a good pickup? Yes. Phantom Gaming. Now, please. Of course. Swift is definitely a great pickup. Yes. 1,000%. As Cobra Kai agrees. Drop Hurst or Tunyon for Goddard. Oh, man, that's tough. Because Hurst shows up, as did last week. The Millie Maker winning tight end, absolutely. Tunyon, too, is the number 1 tight end until his bye. But Goddard with Ertz out is going to eat. I feel like I'd rather have Goddard than either. I'd probably cut Hurst personally, Christian Gunnelson. What is Juju at this point? 3 days expired milk truck. Yeah. Oh, got me on that one. I think absolutely that's a compliment to him. Piece of trash. Flex 1 PPR. Cooper Kupp or Keenan Allen? Got to go Keenan Allen, definitely. Yeah, Mike, number 2 on running backs. Was pumped to see it, definitely. What are we thinking of Clyde after last night? Should he be fine next week, even with Bell? So, yes, the thing I'm a little lower on for him this week is not Bell, but the matchup. I think at this point, Bell may be like a souped-up Darrell Williams. We'll get some goal line work, take a little wear and tear off, but I don't think he's going to impact Hilaire over, like, I think we're going to get like 85% of what we've been getting from Hilaire, maybe even 90. So I'm not, especially what we saw, just a great player, belongs, good receiving option. Yeah, that's where Bell is going to also eat into a little bit of work is the receiving game too, whereas Williams is just kind of a disgusting plotter. But I'm not worried. I'm not overly concerned here. It's going to take a little while for Bell to get eased in. It's more so concerning to me is sorry, I lost my train of thought here. My screen just jumped somewhere. More so concerned with the Denver matchup is what I'm thinking. We have to keep tabs on Mixon's injury. He was in and out Sunday, out entire last 8 minutes. That's true. So yeah, if he's, I'm into that. Aaron Jones is on the main slate. Ronald Jones is not. Yep. Absolutely. So Aaron Jones smash spot. Ronald Jones slightly not. I think that is fake news. Vikings running game destroyed the Seahawks. That's true with Cobra Kai talking about Kenyon Drake and why that is not as bad of a matchup as it might look on paper. David Johnson is dust. I agree, Cobra Kai. Not disagreeing for 1 second as a player. Horrible. Green Bay's also dust as a defense, so I wouldn't be shocked to see David Johnson fall into the end zone twice. Traded Connor and Woods for D-Hop. Sacrificed running back depth for a better wide receiver. Still have Carson, Jay Taylor, Ronald Jones, and David Johnson. Thoughts? I like it. I think it's a good deal. You have good running backs to pull off something like that. So I'm into it, especially with Connor being a ticking time bomb. Did he get a lot? Yes, Rodney. But I think that's the right play for, after Devontae Adams, there's no one else I'd rather own at wide receiver. Let's get 2 more here. And then, of course, again, we'll get you all, but I want to hit my tight ends now. Lost my game. Oh, Hansel, sorry to hear it because of Drake's last TD run. Painful stuff. I've seen some reports of people losing like 100K because of that run in DraftKings and things like that. How much of a shootout will for Matthew Boeheim, Seattle, Arizona be? Oh, fucking You just want me to crank one out like live here? It's going to be an absolute barn burner, Matthew. They're going to go crazy. Kyler's going to destroy that defense. Russell's going to answer. It's going to be a bloodbath. Cannot wait to see that one, Matthew Boehm. Absolutely. Wolf, I have Drake, Mixon. I said that was going to be the last one, but you know what? FF undefeated. We'll hit you here. Drake, Mixon, Connor, Swift, Edmonds. Should I trade Swift and Mixon or Connor for Cook? I would trade Connor for Cook. Yes, definitely. Swift and Mixon, I probably would do too with the depth you have, but I like the straight up deal, no doubt. 4 and 2 gives you the flexibility to do that as well. All righty, guys. Let's look at tight end. Most points is the Falcons. No shocker there. They're giving up a lot to everything. The Bills coming in second. We saw Kelsey destroy them. Not that Chris Herndon will do anything against them this week. Saints, solid option for tight ends, third most points. Eagles, if Evan Ingram going to ever finally fucking show up, probably not. Washington football team, also very generous to the tight ends. Dalton Schultz in a good spot this week. The Saints, they get Carolina, so Ian Thomas doesn't matter. Jacksonville, obviously quite a generous team here with Hunter Henry, good spot for him. Bengals, good, generous to their tight ends. I'm surprised. Hold on. I feel like a few of these averages are a little off. 10-7, the Titans are up there. So the Browns have gotten decent against tight ends, since the early season start. They seem to have tightened it up a little bit. Colts just eliminate tight ends completely, So on the bottom end of things, lines are actually shockingly good. Seahawks so bad against receivers that there's no reason to throw. Not that in Arizona tight end matters anyways. Pats, Kittle, that will be an interesting battle this week. And Giants, who knows who they'll be facing. If Goddard will be out there, it won't be Ertz. So to me, Denver gets Kelsey. Middle of the pack, doesn't matter. Kelsey, among all of them, is the most matchup proof because you're just going to get a touchdown. But the rest of your elite guys, Kittle against New England, bottom 5, and they take out what you do best. So Tampa Bay also solid, but against tight ends might be a different story. Yeah, so middle of the road against tight ends. So I'll leave Waller there. Love Hawkinson in the same tier, though. I'm all about that. Houston, we saw Fells go off against the Titans, but do they give up? Yeah, they're right there. Top 10 or so in points per game for tight ends. So, yeah, Tunyon deserves a decent ranking here this week, but I like Hunter Henry just a little bit more for the sake of consistency. I like Schultz more than Ingram. It starts to really get bad, though. Detroit's been, again, good against tight ends, but when these are your other options, Ingram's just a bag of shit, right? LA Rams, they are decent against tight ends. Chargers are not, but Eifert, who cares? Rams, no, nothing special for tight ends here. Logan Thomas in a decent spot against those Cowboys. What else do we got here? Jonnu, if he plays, is of course in your top 7 or 8 every week, but seems a little unlikely this week. We'll bounce back and forth as we get to names. I would kind of cut this tier. Ingram doesn't belong in that massive every week starters. Hooper's been sneaking in for some decent volume. I guess that's about as low as I'll go with Ingram. If he's ever going to get it done. Philly, Thursday night. I like Fells, though. Gronk with a couple scores as well. Titans generous, so Ebron should smash, but probably won't. If Fant plays, he's got to be right up there with your top options. So let's rank him as if he is. John, who doesn't seem expected to go, so we'll cut him out. And in his absence, we can bump it Fursker. 100 yards and a TD. No joke from the dude. I like Cook more than these guys. Chicago against tight ends. I feel like they've actually haven't been great, but I could be dead wrong on that. Middle of the pack. Alrighty. And then, if Herndon's ever going to do it, I guess it'd be this week. We mentioned Logan Thomas in a good spot. Had that touchdown from Kyle Allen this week. So some streamers. Definitely some streamers at tight end that can bring you some intrigue. And down here, we're getting ugly. I think Thomas could fall his ass in. Knox against the Jets. Intriguing. We mentioned Eifert's in a good spot. Sample does nothing. I don't know why he gets his ranked as high as he does. So that seems about right. Komet might be a fair bet for a touchdown. Let's say Rogers is the only one playing. Where would he rank? I think we can get Higbee in there just for the touchdown upside. But yeah, this 21 tight ends this week that you can feel okay using. Only 10 though that I would consider like genuine number ones. All righty, let's get back to your questions and kind of rip through the defenses and kickers as well. Tunyon or Henry, rest of season? I think I'm leaning Henry. Just seems like a little bit more secure, but it's close. Very close. Sway, Thracy, Macus. B. Scott with a high waiver spot. Mixon, Drake, Montgomery, Singletary, Freeman. I wouldn't burn my top spot because it's a 1-week rental, and is he really even getting in there? Maybe over Montgomery this week, but Singletary against the Jets, great option. So I wouldn't burn anything too high on him. Is there any players I should trade Ronald Jones for? I mean, sure. Yes, Ronald Jones looks great, and I don't think it's a fluke. But you got to be prepared. My fucking stupid league mate said Calvin Ridley for Ronald. I said, get your ass out of here. No fucking way I'd trade Calvin Ridley for him. But like a mid-range 2 could be it because he's going to be a mid-range RB2 at worst. Easy schedule, Plague. Easy schedule. I traded Antonio Gibson and Hollywood Brown for Gaskin and Chark. Is that a good trade? Yeah, it doesn't like overwhelm me or make me come or anything, but Brixton. To be honest, Gaskin's probably the best player in that deal. Chark doesn't really intrigue me though, so like I like Hollywood to blow up. I think Gibson can find it, so I feel like you got the lower upside of that trade. Should I trade Waller for Brexton again and play him over Smith? Yes, if you can get him. Depends on the price. Yeah. What should I do with Nick Chubb? At this point, I need RBs badly. Sell if you have to, but where I'm like 4-2, I'm trying to buy Chubb right now. I wouldn't be selling too hard. I think he's between him and Eckler, that tough week. It seems like he's the one that's in a little bit of a better spot. Start 3, Papa. Hudbat, what's up? McLaurin, Julio. Is Papa a name or is that just you called me Papa? I like it if you call me Papa. McLaurin, Julio, A-Rob, Mike Will, Galladay, T. Higgins. I'm locking in McLaurin, Julio, Galladay there. Toughest benches are A-Rob and Higgins for me. Mike Williams just isn't quite on all their levels as much as I like him. But McLaurin, Galladay, and Julio, great matchups, great talents. That's great stuff. I think we answered this one, Plague, but yeah, I mean, it's a good player, so you got to be ready to give up some good players to get him. Where does Deontay Johnson slide in if he's healthy? Below Claypool? Yes, K Cool Whip. I'm all about this Claypool experiment. Like, he's dominating every week so far. Every time he's gotten usage, he's thrived. And Tomlin, for whatever faults you want to point out about him, when he finds something that works, he slaps it on the ass time and time again. So yeah, I think absolutely I have Claypool higher. Would I offer Evans for AJ Brown? I don't know. Would you? I think it's neck and neck the way that is going. So yeah, I would go AJ Brown, I think, personally. How is T.Y. Hilton not in tier 1? Seb just trying to fucking mess with me here, it seems like. And just a reminder, too, any thumbs up on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, a like and retweet. That stuff means the world if you're catching the back half here. and winding it down, or if you've been with us the whole time, like you, Mike Clay, fucking love you. I'm all about it. Give us that thumbs up. Let us get it discovered by a few more people. It means the world. So thank you guys. And if you're on YouTube and you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, put that bell on so you always catch us for these. Not worried about CD. Dalton's first game, Zeke got them behind, and AZ could pin their earbacks. Yeah, I'm not overly concerned, but I'm not thrilled, of course. But I think his game, Mike, of all the receivers, translates the best. Generate some easy touches for him. Mike Clay, Juju's the odd man out. Totally agree. Definitely agree with you. Should I sell high if James Robinson has another good game? Jacobs, Johnny Taylor, Gurley, James White in the stable. Only A.J. Brown, Landry, Deontay, the Glass, Johnson, and other buns. Other buns. Nothing wrong with the buns. Yeah, I mean, honestly, yes, because A.J. Brown's really the only receiver I like of yours, Todd. Like Deontay, if he's playing, is good, but Claypool's the number one there. So yeah, even if he doesn't have a good, sell him like now, get something. Sarah Riley had Ertz and Jonnu need a replacement if Jonnu doesn't play. Hurst, Fells, Gronk. I go Hurst there. But I also could consider Fursker, the immediate replacement for Jonnu. But yeah, I like Hurst. He's been steady, very steady. This question earlier, I have Kyler. Should I trade Keenan and Josh? Oh, so you have Kyler. That makes it a little more intriguing, but I would be trying. You got great receivers with Calvin and Kenny, but Kenny's no stranger to injuries. Nor is Keenan. I feel like giving him Josh Allen and Keenan, though, is giving him so much. You shouldn't be just getting trash in return. J-Rob, Zeke, Eckler for running back. I mean, obviously stacked when Eckler's there. You don't need a receiver that bad either. Like if you're giving up Keenan and Josh, it seems to me like you should be trying to go get. I would be more like Josh Allen and J-Rob targeting a very weak QB team, and trying to get like an elite running back or an elite receiver. You guys can't give up J-Rob right now because you're number 2, but I think you can get more for Josh Allen. I think you're underselling him there. But Kyler, like obviously, makes it. I will see Breeze. No, you don't need Breeze. So you're not doing enough for your team. I have Devonte Lockett, Amari, Jay Jefferson, Carson, Chubb, Harris. Which receiver should I do? Do I trade for a running back? I mean, any of them for the right price, right? I think out of all of them, I would trade Amari. I think he's trending downward and still gives you the low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2. But they all come at their own prices, right? Anyone you can trade for the right price. Adams, you're getting a running back 1. Lockett, you're getting a low end 1, high end 2. Same with Amari. Jefferson, right around there at this point too. And I think you need to when you have Chubb and Harris. So look to get like a nice RB2 for Cooper or Jeff. Going to do waiver tonight too. I don't have notes written down for it, but I'm happy to always rip through the waiver, Mike Clay, if you'd like. But I want to start doing a just waiver exclusive show on Mondays and hit that like Sunday tailgate now with risers and fallers and stuff. But I'm happy to rip through some names if there's anybody that you guys have questions on. Or anything, who would I prioritize? I think the most useful is Boston Scott with Sanders being out. Long-term value, nothing special. It's a pretty disgusting waiver. I have seen, let me pull up my waiver wire notes here. This is like my ups and downs of the week. This is the psycho type of shit I write every week just to get it. I mean, I saw that Claypool still out there in like less than 50% of leagues, which is just blowing my mind that he's so underowned. You can see my notes here. People still own TY. Alrighty. So here's my notes. Boston Scott, depending on MRI for Sanders, it's about 1 or 2 weeks. So it's not like Scott you need to blow the entire load for. I would be looking to see Goddard though. 41% owned. Tight ends are intriguing. on the waiver wire this week. Burton, 20%, Fells, 5%. Like, if you're desperate at tight end, you got some guys. Fells going 85 in a TD. Green Bay, shootout style game, especially if Akins keeps being out. Irv Smith also intriguing, 55 yards, but he's on bye this week, so you can kind of leave him there. Fulgham still only 31% owned. Another big day, another 10 targets, 75 yards and a score. He's doing his thing. And then other than that, McKissick, out there in a ton of leagues. Or you can look at Hasty, Jeff Wilson. Stashes, where it might be more valuable this week. Stashes would be Coleman getting ahead of the game when he comes back in week 8, especially if, McKinnon falters this week. Hasty is an intriguing plug and play this week, but I'm not sprinting out running to get him. Adam Humphries as well at wide receiver if you're desperate. Did some intriguing things. And Tim Patrick, still very under-owned. How much on Goddard, asks Mike. Depends on how bad you are at tight end, but with Ertz banged up till probably week 11, they're saying. And I think Goddard could come right back into a top 5-6 role. So I'm a big fan for sure. So it was Swift and Mixon or Swift and Connor? Oh, it was one or the other. I think that's too much, Jake, especially with us seeing the injury concerns and that Madison is not a lock. Should Cook go down? That's too much. Rojo or Connor this week? I'm going to go Connor, but it's damn close. Rojo, RB9 in my ranking, run the power, but Connor's running back 6. Titans are bad against pretty much every position on defense, but especially running backs. Z-Ball, thoughts on Taylor? Is he getting better or worse or just consistent RB2? I mean, the schedule softens up. The usage has been the concern, remains a concern. I don't get why they don't unleash him, but I think it's going to trend upwards. He's so much better, clearly, whenever he's on the field than anybody else out there. So I like Taylor to keep getting better. Yes, definitely. Thoughts on Jefferson for someone like Jonathan Taylor? I'd do that. I'd get Taylor for Jefferson. Yeah. I would want the Taylor side of that. Should I use top 3 priority on Chiefs D? Denver this week, Jets next. Top 3, it's like you might shoot up to number 1 and miss out something for a defense. It's 2 good weeks, but I think Denver could make them kind of useless this week, so it's not even that great of a deal. How much on Goddard? Yeah, we just talked about that. He lost Ertz, but dude stinks. Was looking to get rid of him. Have Fant. So Fant's such a great option. I don't think you need to go overboard, but I wouldn't want an opponent to get him either. So I like probably $15-20, given that situation. Gonna eat a quick little nibble of a donut here. Shouting out here, Holy Donut in Maine. Great stuff, Portland, Maine. Some of the best freaking donuts I've ever had. But yeah, Ertz does stink. Let's rank these defenses now for you guys, and then I'll get back to any of the questions that y'all have. Fucking donuts. Bills D number 1 makes sense against the Jets. Even though Bills D hasn't been great, they put up like 8 against them last year. I mean, week 1. I think Tampa Bay is just one of those defenses that's like set and forget status based on what they just did to Aaron Rodgers. That could just be Aaron Rodgers crapping himself, though. We got Los Angeles Rams against Chicago. Chargers against Jacksonville off a bye, rested. That could be a nice one. Your Steelers are just still like an every week defense, guys. Let's not overthink that. We saw it this last week. Always a good, decent bet to score. It's ugly for defense, though, huh? Eagles, how can I have them as a top tier option when they put up -1? The Giants are bad. Yeah, they're that bad, but I don't. God, it's hideous. I think streaming-wise, Washington makes a bit of sense this week. Facing Dallas, that line is atrocious. That's like the matchup, right? Like the lines. Washington can win that game and get to Dalton all night. If you get a touchdown, whew. I don't think the Patriots should be feared. We just saw what the Broncos did to them, and I think the 49ers might have a better defense than the Broncos. Any other like sneaky plays? I don't like Dallas's defense, but Washington does suck. Philly can, the Giants could probably get after Wentz decently well this week. I would round that out with like these top 15 here. There's nobody else. Lions against Atlanta, no. Lions against the Falcons against Detroit, maybe. They had 3 picks last week, but I don't think so. Titans against Pitt, no. There's no. Yeah, there's nothing else in there. All right, we'll get to our kickers. I think I was 19th in kickers this week. So things are trending the right way for the Wolfski. And we got Sarah Riley here. Had Mostert. Is it worth number 1 to grab McKinnon or Fulgham? Have Carson and David Johnson. I hate waivers because this is where it gets tricky. Like McKinnon, if we knew we were getting week 3 and 4 McKinnon, then he would be absolutely. But Hasty had more carries. Coleman comes back week 8. Like I wouldn't. And then Fulgham's like, again, then you have Alshon and Sean Jackson and Jalen Reagor all coming back at some point. Like, number 1, you want to get a season changer. Claypool last week. That's not doing it for me as a season changer. But if you're that, you got no good replacement. You got Carson, David Johnson, so you got good enough replacement there that you don't have to go all in for McKinnon. Sion Cena went against your advice and did an 8-teamer. Oh, boy. Fucking pathetic stuff. 8 teams, joke. A. Jones, Adams. Who do I start at running back and receiver? Flex. Drake, Connor, Gurley, Brown, McLaurin. I don't want to answer any fucking stupid 8-teamers. But I go Connor because I'm nice for you. I go McLaurin over AJ Brown just slightly. And then flex comes down to Drake versus AJB. I think I go AJB there. Woods, Gibson, Claypool, Cooks start 2 this week. I think Claypool's the lock. And then it comes down to Woods or Gibson. I'm nervous about Cooks, Strawn, Jair. If that ends up being the case, it could get ugly. I go Gibson, Claypool. I like Gibson against Dallas. We just saw Drake steamroll them. I think Gibson could have his coming out party here this week. So Gibson, Claypool, Z-balls. Colts are on bye. You got to pick up a lousy D team. Giants, yeah, I mean, they're okay against the Eagles, but there's some lousier, like, guys that might be available. Let me go back to my D for you, Robert Moreno, so you can see. Like, Eagles might be out there. Bills, I've seen lingering in leagues as the number 1 option. Chargers were out there in a lot of leagues. Jacksonville, I think they could do some decent damage to them. I am going to bump the Steelers up, though. I get the Titans very scary offense, but Steelers a scary team. I'd have Washington above the Giants just slightly, though. So, yeah, I mean, the Giants are number 11. A solid option, Robert, for sure. All righty. While that's loading, let's hit Drew Foster here. 14-team PPR, choose flex. LaVisca, Beasley, Patrick. Oh, boy. I think I'm going Beasley's the safest, but then they might have to take the air out of the ball, which never helps. Give me Patrick there. For right now. Check back in, Drew. I can't say that with confidence. Tuesday we have a little rankings update and sit start show. So check in for that one. I'll rip off one piece of this. Cider glazed donut. We saw, the leg usually a top 4 kicker. Not this week. Give me my man Sly. I think touchdowns are going to be at a premium, so I don't love Zane this week. Don't love Jason Myers this week. Would rather like a suck up. Yeah. Younghoe's got to be number 1, by the way. I remember you guys giving me a little shit when he came back and I had all caps and was freaking out. Like, oh, it's a kicker. Dude's averaging like 15, 17, 20 last week. It's crazy. It's crazy what this dude does for you. Kicker does get pretty gross pretty fast, huh? I think Thursday night, there's a trend my buddy pointed out where at least one Thursday night kicker has like 18 points every time. McManus, where touchdowns are at a premium, but like this Chiefs offense isn't quite the crazy bonanza it's been. Bucker just keeps missing extra points. What a fucking douche. So I like Elliott too, with that trend of Thursday night kickers, along with Gano. Gould's a sure thing every week. Boswell's going to... So, yeah, I'm down on Zerlin. I'm down on that offense. But against Washington, they're going to be able to move it, even with Dalton. So... Yeah, so down on Zane this week, too. I'm talking myself back into Zerlin. But touchdowns at a premium, so I'm avoiding those 2 kickers. Oh, Fairbairn's okay, right? You're just going on offenses. That seems about right. Gostkowski might be relied upon pretty heavily this week. Seen some 20 points day from him, so I got to be higher on that. This seems about right. I got to put... I'll cut that tier here. I'll keep legging that like tier 2 guys. There you go, folks. That's the kickers. And that's the week 7 ranking. So any last questions, let me hit them. And there we go. Colts on bye, lousy D, Giants and up. So yeah, that's what we just talked about. Looks like Mike Clay with the last one here. Woods and Drake to get Taylor, Hunt, and Claypool. Would you rather have Taylor or Hunt? Taylor's schedule. Yeah, that's tricky, right? With, when does Chubb come back? Because Hunt's got some cake games coming up here. But Taylor's got the rest of season like safer as the projected lead guy. And yes, I do this trade because I love Claypool. And I like Taylor or Hunt more. I like Claypool probably more than Woods. It's very close if it's anything. And then Taylor, Hunt, I think I go Taylor because it's more longevity at this point in that cakewalk schedule. That's where I lean, Mike. Wolfpack, thanks so much for tuning in, as always. I, of course, am the Wolf of Roto Street, at Roto Street Wolf on Twitter, rotostreetjournal.com. We breed and feed fantasy wolves. We will be back Thursday for your live ranking show, but we'll be back tomorrow for your Week 7 preview with my man, The Truth. Come on down, 7 p.m., higher, lower, Hail Mary, favorite props, all that good stuff to get you juiced up, jacked up, line up perfect for Week 7 to dominate. And I'm all about it. So let's go, Wolfpack. As Jake says, Dalvin's not going to miss Week 8. Yeah, I don't think so either. But even, if he ever misses time again, you're giving up 2 low-end ones for 1 RB1. I don't do it. I don't do it because Madison just is not the insurance policy needed. But Wolfpack, thanks so much for tuning in. I am the Wolf of Roto Street, and we will see you later.